Thank you for inviting me to your group. Been asked to share a few thoughts about the understanding of this journey of meditation. And I've been told by Archana that there is some youngsters, some new people, and some old timers that are also meditating. So, for the benefit of all, first, we want to understand why we are meditating. What is this scientific explanation of meditation? And why is it tied to spirituality and personal development, refinement of our own self? And how can it actually happen? This refinement of a being, how can it happen? Because according to neuroscience, in a given week, if you are able to just be silent for 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, for a couple of hours in a whole week, it is said that your frontal brain regenerates new cells. This is for the benefit of our youngsters. Your frontal brain regenerates new cells if you learn to be silent for a couple of hours in a whole week. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. What does it mean? What is frontal brain? The frontal brain is all about mental stability, emotional stability, and the ability of creativity. Mental stability, emotional stability, and the ability of creativity. So when we don't rest, what gets affected is our mental stability, our emotional stability, and our ability to be very creative and dynamic. That is the purpose of rest. That is the purpose of resting the mind. And according to sleep studies also, it is said that if you sleep well, your brain releases toxins in the night time. So your brain is refreshed. So this concept of releasing toxins, allowing the mind to rest, is not completely spiritual concept. It is a total scientific concept. But spirituality existed from time immemorial. It is just that name was given as spirituality because our ancestors used it. If our ancestors spoke a language, it was Sanskrit. But now we all speak English. If the great masters were born in the past, they spoke Sanskrit. If the masters who have mastered themselves are born now, they speak English. But the truth is truth. If we remember this, then we understand this concept of refining ourselves. Life is to express this inner self. And what is this inner nature? Should be a nature of peace, a nature of joy, a nature of contentment, a nature of clarity, a nature of emotional and mental stability. But are we at that state? Or are we continuously disturbed by our mind, our emotions, our weaknesses? And due to all this mess inside ourselves, are we having problems in our relationships? Are we able to experience peace? Eventually, everybody wants to have a good life. They want to live happy lives. But that happiness is what is being affected when our mind is disturbed. So the entire practice of spiritual science is about refining your senses. When your senses are in a state of balance, you are in a state of balance. When that senses are disturbed and burnt out, we cannot live a peaceful life. So, this is why, from time immemorial, the sages have worked towards this concept of refining the senses. Like you have to keep your body fit. And to keep the body fit, we have to do certain things. We have to eat right, we have to exercise, we have to sleep. Otherwise, we fall apart. As youngsters, if we did not learn how to exercise, it would be very difficult as we age to adopt this concept of exercise into our lives. And because of that lack of discipline when we were young, now we all struggle as we age to maintain the physical body. The same thing with the mind also. As youngsters, because when you are young, your body is very fit, so you don't feel the need for it. You don't think like your body needs exercise. Oh, I'm fit, I'm young. Your cars need maintenance, your body needs maintenance, your mind needs maintenance, your house needs maintenance. Everything needs maintenance to last for a long time. So even our mind needs maintenance to last and be effective in the long run of life. And meditation scientifically helps us. In meditation, the idea is to bring the mind into the heart's silence and allow the mind to rest in that silence. So the mind can absorb that silence and can be rejuvenated. But it is a very difficult process because it's so used to, we have trained it so much that it's going in 100,000 directions. We are unable to divert its flow into the heart's field. We cannot simply rest. If that was so easy, we won't need so many sleeping pills and muscle relaxants and all that for us to relax. It is not easy for the mind thought flow to divert to inward. And this is where some scientific process and spiritual process do exist. We all wondered how
Is the internet connection? I don't see any pause. Namaste, sister. Can you hear us? Okay. Okay.
are you able to hear me?
Yes, sister. We cannot see you yet, though.
You can't see me?
No. Yeah, now we can.
Where was I? So this original Nasadaya Sukta is from the ancient text, and I am very touched by that because it says that the first it was created by the female force, female principle. And it is also said that God did not know where the beginning was, for he was not there when the beginning was. It was the female principle that existed. And the field of God came into existence later on. And this mergence of the female principle with the principle of God is what made evolution possible, creation possible. So that is why Babuji said that's why God is greater. Because without that field, this creation was not possible. But the power that descended was the power of the female principle. And that power is what brings transformation in the human being. If I have to quote from a story of Hinduism, how this flow, the female principle, which is known as Adi Shakti, which is the transmission, the vibration of the ultimate, the divine light, the divine essence, the divine source. This power is what helps the human mind to master itself. And that is in the heartfulness tradition known as transmission, power of transmission. But that power of transmission in the higher dimensions without the field of the God, it is not fruitful. And the same transmission, when it enters into the earth field, you also need a field. And that is the field of the guide. Somebody who has mastered themselves, whose consciousness is so refined, and they are able to receive the transmission and they're able to give it back to the beings. Because I will show you one concept and share the PowerPoint. For some of our youngsters, it may be a little bit overwhelming, but it is a good concept. Like why we need to meditate, and this concept of transmission, the transmission which will help the human beings. Like when you are exercising, it is how a trainer helps you to give the right directions so your body can learn to do the right way to create the right muscle. So, also, with the help of a guide who knows how to manage this energy emanating from the nature itself, from the center itself, if they are able to divert that flow into our heart, our thought starts to flow inward and our thought starts to rest in the heart, and our inner energy frequency is what refines. What does transmission do? Everybody talks about transmission, this energy field, life force, prana. What does it do to a human being? Is we have an inner frequency. That is your nature. Some people's nature is laziness. Some people's nature is activity. Some people's nature is very even. These frequencies in the Sanskrit are known as Sat, Rajas, and Tam. Depending on what your frequency is, you are a being. You are an active person, you are a lazy person, you are a very balanced person. But if we are able to be in a balanced state instead of being in lazy or too much activity, your frequency is supposed to be the right frequency, which will help you live a better life, where your sensory perceptions are in balance. So you are having mental stability, you are able to have peace, you are able to have emotional stability, your clarity is clear, your alertness is clear, your creative abilities are clear. And because of all that, there is such clarity, your decision making is correct. For all that, it all depends on your inner frequency. And this frequency in Sanskrit is Sat, Rajas, and Tamas. And to have the frequency of the Sat is supposed to be the perfect. And the transmission emanating from the guide's consciousness, it refines our inner frequency and brings us to that state of balance. That is why the need for a guide. A lot of times, youngsters ask, why do I need a teacher? Why do I need to go to him to get something? It is not that you are going to him to get something. It is just that his capacity, the frequency of his inner capacity is so refined that he is able to transmit this inner frequency into you and bring you to the right frequency. This is what the spiritual journey is actually about. Adjusting our inner frequency to bring ourselves to a state of mental balance, emotional balance, a state of clarity, so we can live life with a clear perception and with some possibility of peace and love and joy. And for this, they gave into deep thoughts of how you have the physical body. They tried to explain you where this frequency lies. This frequency is in your subtle body. and you have the pure self. In the subtle body is where your mind and intellect and ego gets refined with this transmission, so-called transmission. And I'll give you a small example of how this transmission works. In ancient times, they always gave in stories, in analogies. There is this story of this guy, a king, whose forefathers died, and they were all very restless. They were not liberated. And so they were coming to him in his dreams and saying, "Help us." And so he asked, "What should I do?" And they say that you have to bring the holy waters of the heaven. These are all symbolic. You have to bring the holy waters of the heaven, and those waters have to flow on our ashes, and that will liberate us. So he starts to pray to Ganges, river Ganges, who is the holy river in the heaven. So finally, Mother Ganges says, "Okay, I'll come down, but I'm coming down with such force. I need to landing gear. I need to land somewhere. Because with such force, if she lands on the earth, earth will be destroyed." So they need a master of a caliber whose consciousness is so high that he could receive Mother Ganges and distribute a part of it to the earth. And so now he had to go and pray to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva agrees, and he receives Mother Ganges, the powerful river, onto his head. And he releases one stream of that water onto the earth to liberate so-called Bhagirathas ancestors. If you look at this analogy, this is exactly what transmission is. Transmission is coming from the higher dimensions, from the source. When it enters the earth plane, it needs a highest consciousness because of its power. If it directly falls, it could destroy. It's like you getting electrocuted. If too much electricity is on you, you die. So the same power, when it enters directly into the earth or us, we could be destroyed. So we need a medium. And that medium is the consciousness of a living guide who, because of his own evolution, has expanded so much. He's able to receive that transmission, and he's able to redistribute that transmission. And that transmission, when it enters into our energy field, which is known as the subtle body, where our mind, our intellect, our ego, because of this transmission, gets refined, our sensory perceptions get refined, and because of that, our frequencies get refined, and we come to a state of balance. And because of that state of balance, we live a better life. We make better decisions. And this is the spiritual journey. And for this, we have to do certain things. First, before you make your car travel, you have to maintain your car. The car's engine should be functioning. You should have gas in it. So this is where meditation comes into being. I will skip all this stuff. In meditation, you have to bring the mind's attention into the heart's feet and simply allow it to rest in the heart. And then gradually, in this process, the training is to let go of the thoughts. Because thoughts are just the dust that is leaving the field. When you're cleaning the house, suddenly too much dust comes when you start dusting, because it's actually coming out. And when dust actually leaves the field, now purity reigns in the heart. So also the training in meditation is to learn to let go of the thoughts. Take a deep breath, let go, allow the thoughts to leave, and allow the mind to settle. And for this, revered Daji has given this example where the water is very disturbed. Can you see the bottom of it? And when it is dirty, can you see the bottom of it? No. So what do? You just let it be. Let the water rest. And then what happens? The water becomes still. Now you're able to see the dirt. And if you release the dirt, you're able to see very clearly what is at the bottom. So this is significantly the practice of meditation. In Heartfulness, we have meditation where you bring the mind gradually to stillness. We have the cleansing process where, with the power of the mind, you release the impurities that are there, that exist in us. Gradually release them. As you release them, as the mind settles, the sensory perceptions get refined, and we have the clarity to perceive something that is which is in our inner field as well as outside. Outside, when you are looking at clarity, you are able to make right decisions. Inside, when you are able to perceive the inner presence, there you recognize there is something beyond you. There is some divinity that is existing in there. There is some beginning that is there that is very sacred. And you'll realize that sacred presence, the doorway is through the human heart. And that is why we meditate on the heart. And if we go into the depth of this subject, there are several chakras, everybody knows. There are several energy fields. And the human being is supposed to be made up of known as Panchabhutas, the five elements, the element of the earth, ether, water, air, fire. And depending on the nature of these elements, our frequency also gets disturbed. If fire is too active, you are too emotional. If your earth element is disturbed, you lose your balance. If your water element is disturbed, you experience fear. When your air element is disturbed, you are completely confused. That is why these five elements have to remain in balance in the human heart, in the human chakras. And that is another benefit of the transmission, which flows from the guide's consciousness into our consciousness. As it refines this flow, these elements are coming to a state of gradual balance. So in the heartfulness, we have this heart region, the mind region, and the central region, where there are different chakras, with the first point with the earth element, the second point with the ether element, the third point with the fire element, the fourth point with water element, and the fifth point with the air element. So if we look at Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna talks about this state called Sthita Prajna, which is a state of absolute balance. And what happened to this student Arjuna on the battlefield was he lost the balance. So his first point, earth point, got disturbed. When he saw all his relatives around, he was in the 0 hour of the war. He was a great warrior, he was a prince, he was very successful. But yet at that moment, he lost his balance. And that losing that balance at the first point, which is the earth element, created lack of peace in him, which is the second element, ether element. When ether got disturbed, his fire element got disturbed, so he became emotional, he became depressed. And when that happened, his water element got disturbed. That means it created fear in him. When fear came that, oh, I'm going to kill all my people, he completely lost the clarity of what his duty was. He was a warrior. He was warrior fighting for righteousness, the truth. And when he lost the clarity, he put his bow and arrow down and said, I can't fight. And it is said Bhagavad Gita happened at the 0 hour of the war. How is it possible that 700 slokas were said at that moment? What exactly happened was Lord Krishna transmitted this power of the Adishakti, which is known as Pranahuti, into the energy field of Arjuna, where the frequency of Arjuna was adjusted. So his first point came to balance, and the moment first point came to balance, he started to experience some peace. He became emotionally stable. He gathered his courage, and his clarity started to happen, and he started to see, oh my God, it's my teacher here who is guiding this and not me. He came back to that state known as balance, absolute balance. So If we look at life as a battlefield, this happens to us day in and day out. That is why the need for meditation every day. I cannot exercise once in 10 days and expect my body to be fit. I have to exercise at least thrice a week for my body to have some level of fitness. So also my mind and my energy level, for it to be fit, I have to meditate regularly. And meditate, if you meditate with the help of this transmission, this inner frequency adjustment is so quick that you come to balance very quickly. That is why, if you observe, anytime we meditate, whether we like it or not, you feel like you've slept or not, sometimes you feel like you went into deep absorption. At the end of it, you feel a sense of lightness. So, this is what I was explaining to, like the earth element and all that. I won't go too much into all this. But I want to talk about this concept of karma that everybody tries to understand. And a lot of times people ask, like, oh, if karma is fixed, why should we do anything? Or only bad things happening to us? We are responsible for our life. Let us face that. So, according to tradition, whatever actions we perform in this lifetime, past lifetime, next lifetime, it is all our bank account of good and bad. It is known as Sanchita karma. And it is said that from that karma, we bring a part of it into this earth. And that is known as Prarabdha karma. And depending on what we bring, where we are born, if I am born to a mother who is obese, my body is such and that. Those certain factors cannot be changed. That's why it's called Prarabdha karma. The way I look like my parents. That is the genes I have. But we bring both good and bad into this Prarabdha karma. And we have to go through that. We come into to get rid of all that debt. This debt I want to get rid of in this lifetime. And there is another aspect of karma known as kriyamana karma, which is whatever actions you do in this lifetime fresh. And that can be either you can go through now or you can put it back into your bank account of Sanchita karma. But if we live life correctly, we can get rid of it now. That is where the practices, like, yes, I have a little bigger body, but from day one, if I am starting to exercise, I may look little chubby, but I am fit. This is kriyamana karma. This is how you change your destiny. So, another karma that really interests me is known as agami karma. Here it is like you are excused. Kriyamana karma is where, in the middle is where you do heartfulness meditation practice, you do heartfulness cleansing, you do different techniques of intentions to bring transformation in you. So you are working on yourself, so your karma is reduced. And this agami karma is when you are living life right, like if you are put in a jail, if you are doing everything correctly, they reduce your sentence. So agami karma is like where when you are actually practicing any spiritual practice and bringing change inside yourself, your impurities are also released. So you go back lighter. So this karma, when it enters into the human being, how does it actually effectively take place? This is a very deep philosophy. But if we understand this philosophy, we practice with more dedication. From the center, the flow is coming down. And in the human being, between the 6 and 7, near the Trikuti, there is a place called Chit Lake, which is like the lake of the mind. And that is where all our samskaras, the karma is floating. And that karma, because of its heaviness, it is coming down. And when it is coming down into the human heart, it takes bifurcation as 3 roads. First, it goes into the lower consciousness at point 1. And that is where our life is. We go through life. And a second field goes to In the human heart, we have a field called point A from the center of your sternum. You take two fingers down and go four fingers width. It's known as point B, where we human beings store all lower tendencies. That's an energy field. In Heartfulness, we have a practice where if you release that with a focused awareness for 5 minutes, that these lower tendencies are leaving my field, you become a better human being. You are able to move from animal consciousness to human consciousness by a simple 5-minute practice of releasing impurities from this point B. And two fingers above is point A. And that is a place where you make intentions. It's almost like a prayer point. See, we don't have Wi Fi. We have to go to the right place to get Wi Fi. In India, sometimes you don't, there are locations that you cannot have Wi Fi. So, also in our energy field, there are certain locations where if you focus and pay your attention and offer the prayer, it is directly received by the consciousness of the guide and to the source. So, point A is such a field. And it is very important for aspirants to know that this point A is a very significant point where you can make intentions and make them manifest. Positive intentions. Anything that you want to get rid of, like that agami karma and kriyamana karma I'm talking about, the changes that you want to bring. You want to bring changes in your personality. You focus your attention at that point A and you make this intention that this weakness of complaining has left me for good. I have no attachment to it. Why is it that we are saying in a negative way, I have no attachment to it? The force coming from above is so strong, it is difficult for the thought flow to go up. So the sankalpa, the original teacher Lalaji gave it in such a way that you have to make the sankalpa in such a way that it is received by the Guru's consciousness. So these two fields, point A and B, are very significant fields. Point B releases lower tendencies. If you meditate there for 5 minutes before morning meditation, you make the sankalpa, that intention. Impurities are leaving me, the lower tendencies are leaving me. And as this is happening, my soul is growing in brightness. And at point A, you can make sankalpas. Anything, weakness of blaming, criticizing, complaining, fantasizing too much, stubbornness, because these are all the qualities that keep our consciousness restricted. They won't bring refinement in our character. So these are the two yogic practices that are very important. And another part of this chit lake is going into the second field, which is the ether field, Atma Chakra. That is where peace is. Usually, ether is floating, right? So when the thought flow is connected with that ether, the impressions, the samskaras, the karma gets burned out, evaporated. This is one thing in heartfulness the guide does is divert this flow towards this ether element. So now you are aware of a higher presence. You are aware of a higher dimension. You are aware that peace exists. That's what happens to in the first three sessions that you receive as a meditator. The Guru does a couple of things. One is he cleanses this lower point B. So you are somewhat relieved of the lower tendencies. And he cleanses, there is a space on the spinal cord between the vertebrae, the space is clogged, so the energy is not flowing freely. Because we all talked about this energy flow, the frequency flow in our energy field is what keeps us balanced. So when it is clogged, you are not balanced. So the teacher does this, release that space between the vertebrae. So the prana is flowing freely, the transmission is flowing freely. And the third help is diverting this flow of your thought into the soul. So you start to experience peace inside yourself. So what happens as you meditate regularly? When you meditate, your mind is coming to stillness. At point B, when you are releasing, lower tendencies are removed. Now, human beings actually move from this, there is U and L on the screen here. You move from lower consciousness to an upper consciousness. Only when we move, what is the lower consciousness here? It is the animal consciousness. That is why so many people behave brutally. Even though they are in the human body, they are still totally into animal level of consciousness. So unless this intense or with awareness people practice, we consciously don't move from lower consciousness to upper consciousness. What is the upper consciousness in the heart here? It is the human consciousness. So these are the powers that we can utilize to lead a balanced life. Power of the mind. What is the power of the mind? Clarity. That is why we meditate. Power of the heart. What is the power of the heart? Love. That is why we bring the mind into the heart's field and allow the mind to rest. And so the quality of the mind and the heart become one. It's a union. So now heart is clear, mind is filled with love. This union happens. And we utilize the power of prayer for our transformation. What is this power of prayers? At point A, all those sankalpas we make is the power of prayer. And we utilize the power of intention, where we use this power of intention in the cleansing. Thought backed by will, you release the impurities inside yourself. So your vision is clear. So when somebody really want to meditate, the first step is you have to find a separate place to meditate. Why is that? Like when we go to a disco dance, nobody needs to tell us, without even thinking, even old people like us, we start to move, dance, because there is an atmosphere of dancing in there which you automatically resonate to. There the goal is to have fun. So in the morning, what is your goal? Your goal is to center yourself, to prepare yourself for the day, to train your body, train your mind. So you have to have a place where it is quiet, it is clean, and you meditate at the same time every day. When you meditate at the same time, same place every day, it is said that there is an automation created. What is automation means? I remember the days when I was working. I would take 35 highway, go to work, 8 o'clock, whatever. And when I finally retired, the next morning I was going to the ashram. And without my knowledge, 8 o'clock, I took the highway, I was in front of my office. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, wait a minute, I am not working anymore. So this is automation. So when you are doing a particular act every day at the same time, without thinking, you will perform that automatically. And especially when it is a good thing like meditation, you don't need to tell yourself. You get up, you sit down, you bring yourself to that state of being, of silence, and connect your mind to your heart with utmost reverence, because heart is your sacred space. And you will make that sankalpa that impurities are leaving from the front of the point B. And as this is happening, my soul is glowing and my heart is filled with the love. And I am resting in that. And in that rest, the automatic refinement of your senses happens. At the end of it, it is your senses that become balanced. If you look at the Rig Veda and all that, the sages were able to, in meditation, perceive the creation of God. They were able to perceive that it was Adishakti that was the first one that came into existence. They were able to perceive that field of God was a later thing that came into being. How did they know all that? Because their sensory perceptions were so refined, they were able to feel it. And our sensory perceptions, because of our mind going outward, has become so blunt, we can't even feel that we are hurting our own people. We become so insensitive. So meditation refines the inner frequency, refines and brings balance to our senses, refines and brings balance to all the elements in your body, and brings us to that state of mental sthirata, mental balance, emotional sthirata, emotional balance, brings us to that state of stillness, brings us to that state of alertness and awareness. And when such alertness and awareness manifests in the human being, we are in that state of viveka, clarity, which is known as discriminative ability, which makes a human being a divine being. When that discrimination exists in us, we become divine beings. And then life becomes a journey of love and compassion. And this is what I wanted to show as visual when we said point B, impurities are leaving from the front. But we are not focusing on the smoke, we are focusing on the glow of the Atman. Because you don't want to, you don't look at the dirt that's leaving, you are looking at the light that exists. So we will send out these few PowerPoints for you. So you can go through them and understand little bit more about the depth of the practice of the heartfulness, so you can practice. I wanted to share one more from a different class also, a PowerPoint, which few thoughts would give you some clarity in that. See, I talked about making sankalpas at point A. When you make an intention at point A, that gets absorbed into the causal body. You know, the sankalpa intention, your thought coming from the brain, you come into your point A, into your heart, and you make an intention there. That intention gets absorbed into the causal body. And now the causal body responds, it gives out the vibrations. And that's how the neural pathways change. So, learning to make these intentions in the spiritual journey for our transformation is a very, very important aspect. In the journey, it is said that the guide gives you the transmission. He clears the path for you. He begins the journey of your soul. He transmits and makes you experience peace at point two. But there is one aspect that is on our own, which is known as character formation. That means the character formation is our job. And how does that character formation happens? That is at point 3 and 4. Point 3, which is the field of the fire, we have power of opinions. We judge. We are dominating. We are justifying. So, until and unless those weaknesses leave us, the weakness of complaining, blaming, criticizing, stubbornness, exaggerating. If somebody says something, we exaggerate that in our mind. Until and unless those weaknesses leave us, we don't refine our character. So that character formation is what spirituality is about. It is what refinement is about. And that can happen if we can make these intentions at point A. Simply come to that field of point A and make the sankalpa. This weakness of complaining has left me for good. I have no attachment to it. This weakness of blaming others has left me for good. I have no attachment to it. This weakness of criticizing others, judging others, justifying my weaknesses, exaggerating everything has left me for good. I have no attachment to it. If you take like that once a week, one weakness, because nobody knows what our weaknesses are, we only know that. If we work upon ourselves like that, we actually see the transformation. And now, combined with the morning meditation of refining ourselves, combined with the evening cleansing of releasing the impurities, now our field is clean. And now you are utilizing the power of intention, power of sankalpa, power of prayer, power of your own will to bring the transformation. What is happening to us? We are becoming dynamic human beings. Do we want to be stagnated and just be how we are? Or do you want to become better human beings? And that is the question that we have to ask. So, this is where point A sankalpas are all made. I know I was all over the place, but Archana told me there were some youngsters, some new people, some old timers. So, try to cover as much as possible to understand the concept of the goal itself. The goal is not really God realization. According to the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the last step of the yoga is not God realization, it is absolute balance. When Lord Krishna brought Arjuna to the state of Sthita Prajna, he did not bring him to God realization. He brought him to a state of balance. We are born as human beings. We have to live as human beings. To live as human beings, we need this immense balance inside ourselves, which is known as mental sthirata, emotional sthirata. Mental balance, emotional balance, clarity, alertness, awareness. And when we have such clarity, every decision we make is the right decision. Parents don't need to worry about us because you have a clear mind. And that clear mind doesn't just fall from the sky, it comes with self effort. A fit body doesn't come with just like that, it comes with self effort. So, also, a fit mind comes with self effort. And that effort we have to make. The method the master gives, the help the guide gives by transmitting to you, by teaching you, by giving you ideas in the form of seeds, like your parents telling you, giving you ideas. Or maybe you should take calculus, or maybe you should take this. They're just giving you ideas, seeds. But the journey is yours. The individual human journey is ours, in our hands. Mastering ourselves is in our hands. Mastering our senses is in our hands. The moment we master our senses, the moment we master the inner field, Panchabhutas as they are called. That is why Ravana was praised in Ramayana. He has mastered the Panchabhutas, the five elements. But if you really look at Ravana's character, he was not bound by lust, he was bound by ego. That is another journey. If it was lust, he would have done anything to Mother Sita. He didn't do it. That is why they do admit that he did have the mastery of the five elements inside his. He had the control over his senses, but he was dominated by ego. So, but for us human beings, the first journey is the heart journey, the journey of the heart. First, we have to move from animal human being to a human being. And once we cross this heart region, master it thoroughly, we move from human to divine. And when we master the ego circles, we move from divine to bliss. And when we move into that field of reality, we become that reality. So, this is an inner journey that guidance comes from within. But we have to start somewhere. And what is that first step we start? Is meditation. Meditation is the solution for it. Unless you bring the mind to stillness, calmness, balanced state, clear state, you cannot really proceed. You cannot perceive. First, we perceive the external world with this clarity. And as your senses become refined, you're able to hear your voice. Everybody says the consciousness is in you. Divine, the heart is the one, follow your heart. What does it mean? The heart is giving us the signals. But when the mind is clogged, you can't perceive the signals. So that is the benefit of meditation. Is when the mind is clear, you're able to perceive the signals of the heart, and thereby we live life correctly. So if you have any questions, we may address that. I will unmute everybody.
Little ones, kids, questions. I have a question, sister. So in meditation, master says,
Can you come closer and ask? I can't hear you.
thank you for the wonderful session, sister. Thank you for the wonderful session, sister.
Thank you.
In the meditation, master says, stay alert, right? So we try to stay alert to see what's happening in the heart. And also, I think somewhere like, we also heard during cleaning, we stay alert, but during meditation, we let go and we try to go absorb. So do we need to like stay alert and try to be aware of what's happening, or we just let go? And which is the right way?
In my process of meditation, you first fix your goal. You make the sankalpa. The heart is filled with the light, and that light is drawing you inward, and you allow your mind to rest. In this restful state, you observe. But when there is vacuum in the heart created, without your knowledge, you are absorbed. So even in that absorption, sometimes we are aware. So what exactly happened scientifically is when they did research here in Dayton, when people were meditating, when novice people were meditating, they were only going into a first stage of sleep. When people were meditating with transmission, some people were going into second stage. Expert meditators, they were going into delta state. And it is said that even in the highest anesthesia given, it is difficult to go into delta state. But even in the delta state, they observed the person who was giving the sitting and taking the sitting, when they were expert meditators, they were in the delta state even while they were not closing their eyes and meditating, while they were talking. So this is all different levels of alertness and awareness. Depending on, you will be alert, you will feel like you are going deep. Our job is to let go and observe. There are times you will feel alert, there are times that you won't feel alert. It is not our doing it, it happens naturally in meditation. So meditation is a natural process. You have to allow it to naturally unfold within yourself. So there are times that you feel very alert in meditation, there are times you are feeling you are totally absorbed, you don't know anything, and you wonder, oh, did I sleep? Anything is good as long as the field is refined. As far as cleaning is concerned, when you begin the cleaning, you have to make the sankalpa with alertness. And how do you make that? You make the sankalpa that impurities and complexities are leaving from the back of my spine as smoke or vapor. And as this is happening, my system is getting clearer and clearer. And you use the will to just brush your left side and the right side and the upper left and the upper light and feel the light is flowing. It is an active process you're doing. So, but after some time, as you are doing this, when the system becomes light automatically, without your knowledge, you go into deep meditation. It's a natural process. At that time, it is okay because sankalpa is not something that you have to constantly press. Like your leg is on the pedal, you are not constantly pressing it. As long as it is there, it keeps moving. So when you begin the cleansing with awareness, making the sankalpa, the work goes on. So we don't have to worry about that.
Thank you, sister. Anybody else? Anybody that wants to ask the question, you can take this.
No, this is to Uma. Thanks for the presentation. How to be consistent with meditation? Any tips? Because it's hard.
It is hard, it's not easy, but I would say you can do some cheat sheet. We have the Heartfulness app. The app gives you 3 sittings.
Okay.
This is what I told my children, when she was in medical school. I said, Mansa, this is the app. You please take 3 sittings. And Mom, I'm not able to. I don't have time. I said, you request a sitting and you tell Master, I'm sorry, I'm not able to sit. You lie down and sleep. And so she did that for some time. Somehow because of the prana, she is able to rejuvenate herself. And then after a month or so, Mom, I'm feeling bad when I lie down when somebody is giving me a sitting. I am going to sit down and meditate now. So somehow it is the transmission that brings about changes in this inner frequency of ours. And somehow or other, we have to receive it. It's like, food. It is the food that gives you the supplement. You have time or not, even standing near our computer, we take a bite. That is what your sustenance is. So transmission is your sustenance. So you should meditate as much as possible with the transmission. Best thing would be to get once a week sitting from the preceptor, or twice a week if they can give. Attend the group meditation. Or even get these 3 sessions from the app. Because main thing is, what happened now, my daughter over a period of time, she got like that. Now she's more regular. How did it happen? Because the field, when it changes, it automatically craves for it. Now it is not like I have to request. I
How
have
long should,
introduced.
sorry, how long should a session be? Like, you can like meditate for 10 minutes. What would you say?
In the Heartfulness app, when you are taking a sitting from preceptor, it says meditate with a trainer. That session goes for 35 minutes because it has 5 minutes of relaxation. But you sit as much as you can. In the beginning, I could only probably sit 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. But somebody is working on you. Somebody is transmitting to you, focused transmission to your consciousness. They are transmitting. So receive it. Why not? Somebody is putting money into your account. Why not take it? And later on, when you can improve your see, it is all capacity, right? In the beginning, I can only do 10 minutes of yoga. Nowadays, I'm able to do 45 minutes. It is capacity. In the beginning, I didn't have the strength. But I kept doing the 10 minutes every day, and gradually it increased. So meditation is also the same thing. It's our capacity is not there. So, but we keep receiving it, and gradually it will increase. There is no such thing as sin and oh, they are giving sitting and I am doing something bad's going to happen. All that is all not correct thinking. It's not clear thinking. For my child, I want her to somehow pass the exam. Whether she's taking help from somebody else or this person, it doesn't matter. So divinity is the same way. They want us to live peacefully. They want us to take help. So do as much as you can.
Thank you, Sister Uma. Thank you, Sister Uma. That was wonderful. I actually do cleaning with your videos. Wanted to say that to start
Thank
with.
you.
Yeah. So when you were saying living guide, does it always have to be a living guide?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody
But the
who's
connection has to be there.
okay.
That is why, there had to be a Shiva, there had to be a Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna had to say, I'm coming again and again. Why? Because you have to have a connection in the earth plane. And it is this transmission has been trying, the sages have been trying to invent this transmission, invent in the sense, discover the way to bring transmission to earth from time immemorial. So many sages they tried. But they could bring it for their own transformation and to up to that level, but they could not leave it be on the earth and go back. They did not have the technique. It took a Lalaji and a Babuji to do that. Because at one point, I'm telling you one of the spiritual secrets, Babuji thought he did not have a successor whose consciousness was so evolved. So he was going to create a power grid and leave this power of transmission there. So whoever is the next person that has the highest capacity can come and take it. Because you need to have a connection on the earth plane. And that will be only one guide on the earth at one time. That's how nature's laws are. In Lord Shiva's time, it was Lord Shiva. In Lord Krishna's time, it was Lord Krishna. And if you remember this, even the Christian statement of Jesus, They never say they are God. They say, I am the way. But only Lord Krishna said, I am that. Because only Lord Krishna was born with the power. Rest of them, they came, they achieved that power. That's why they were all sages and they were masters and they were saints. And but Lord Krishna was an avatar. That means nature sent him. And if you look at the our mythology of the stories, it is said that Maya was born at the time. The power was born. And when the birth, switch of the birth of Lord Krishna with the female baby that was born, when the evil man throws the baby girl, she says, I am the power, I am still alive, and the person who is going to kill you is still alive. So Lord Krishna was born on the earth, and the power was born at that time. So the power being on the earth is very, very important. And you more important is you need the person who can manage the power. And that is the master. So a living guide is important. And that's why in the heartfulness tradition, this living guide, they make sure whatever they do or not, they make sure they prepare one person. So that person can serve the next generation. Because that field of consciousness, sometimes, we can't even meditate for 20 minutes. Imagine the power descending continuously, and you will have to be the distributor for so many people. It's not an easy job. So, at least when we have such a personality on the earth that is distributing, the least we show is reverence. It's like somebody giving you money, free money. Say thank you.
Thank you, sister. One more question. So when preceptors have been giving the sittings, it's different. Sometimes I felt like I went into the deeper conscious state, and then when I was going deep into the cleaning and everything, I had some extremely weird dreams that have never occurred in life. So I don't know. People said that it could be previous birth samskaras or something that is just coming out. Yeah, so I don't know what your thoughts are
We
about it.
just ignore. Sometimes we see some deep movies, get involved in the character, and we feel like that's our own life, and that could also become a samskara. It would have never even happened to us, but it could be that. So the intensity of our mind. So that is why Babuji says ignore everything. If it is coming out anyway, so how does it matter to us what we throw up? What we throw up is not needed for us. So it's leaving your field.
Yes.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Uma, for the presentation. I don't know if you remember, you gave me one of my first 3 sittings. I'm
Yeah.
Sundaram's wife. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know you both.
Yeah. My question is, you said like we have to work on the point A. So someone say is short-tempered or anger. Any of those characters, should we make an effort
Yeah.
to get rid of that, or will it happen automatically when you meditate?
Nothing will happen automatically. We have to make those sankalpas consciously, and it will help us. The first thing is we don't want to admit. I don't want to admit that I am short tempered, right? So that is why the spiritual journey is a journey of introspection where I write down, see what my weaknesses are that I want to get rid of, and I work on them. And I'm noticing, like, first when I started to work on this weakness of complaining, I felt so good that I stopped complaining. Suddenly, I noticed there's this very fine frequency of complaining going on in the mind. And oh my God, where did this come from? So, this refinement business is a deep business. So, it is neither good, nor, it is not that a judgment on my character that I'm complaining. It exists, it is there, and I am at least making efforts to get rid of it. So, anger, yeah, it is there. We will never be completely free from anger or fear because those are elements. They are refined. They are refined. And actually, let me tell you one secret. If you can completely balance your first point with thorough meditation, Because the point is balanced, you know how to manage when you're not peaceful. Because the point is balanced, even if you get angry, you know how to manage it. Otherwise, you will just fly off. And because the point is balanced, you know how to manage your fear. There are many moments you are scared. You have a child, you know how scared you are. Right? But because of the balance, you know how to manage the fear. Because of the balance, you know how to manage anger. And all those things are existing in us. So when you look at it like it is too much, overwhelming, where it's draining your energy, then you make efforts. Okay, then you come into the sankalpa with a prayerful sankalpa at point A, that this particular weakness has left me and I have no attachment to it. It is a very effective technique, I'm telling you. It's brought so much changes in me. We should try that. Anything, you can take anything. Some people have this, they exaggerate everything. You say one thing and it goes 10 times in their mind. Oh, you said that to me. Right? It's all in your mind. So even that is a weakness. So you let go of that. What happens? All of a sudden you are liberated. You feel nothing bothers you. And the relationships get better for us because of that. Because of this refinement, the first thing you notice is relationships get better when we start to change ourselves.
Yeah, I have noticed that even without making an effort, just meditating, and you see that change in you, even though you don't make an effort. Thank you, sister.
Sister, do you have time for one more question?
Sure.
This is, I see some conflicting teachings both in spirituality and material life. Like, for instance, spirituality says selfless service, anonymity, and material life says self-promotion. Spiritual life says poise, material life says assertiveness. So how do we manage this conflict?
For me, the example is Daji. He's poised, but he's very assertive. He's poised. He's very successful. Imagine the amount of expansion that happened in the mission, the amount of service that he's doing. I don't think there is contradictory in that. Babuji says, as we become better spiritual beings, we become dynamic in our approach. This self-aggrandizement and all that comes from the ego level of it. When we are attached to our wanting to become famous, wanting to be recognized. Those are all in the ego circles. But if we truly transform ourselves, all those things don't matter to us. You are happy to be happy. You go to work, you come back, you do your best. Achievement is automatic. What Daji's achievement is automatic because of his inner state of being. So the focus should be the inner state of being. And that resonates. At times, he's so strict. At times, he's so soft. Why is this two dualities here? Depending on the need of the moment. That is what resonating with the heart is. Like at this moment, you have to be strict. You have to brag about yourself. Yes, brag about yourself. At that moment, that's what is needed. There's nothing wrong in it. You're not attached to it. But the next moment, you have to be very humble. Because that is the need of that moment. So that is why this correct thinking, right understanding, honest approach to life. What does that mean? The mind, when it is cleared, the thinking is clear. When the intellect is purified, right understanding is there. And then when the heart is giving the signal, you are able to perceive it correctly and perform at that moment. So performance could be anything at any moment.
Thank you. Sister, I have one more question, sir.
Yeah.
How do we build emotional strength? So, like when we watch movies, we resonate with the characters. We cry when they are crying, like depending on the situation. The same way when we hear people in our lives too, like one time we were at satsanga, like a gathering. After that, when a young girl was like sharing her life troubles, most of us were like with tears in our eyes. So I thought that was like common and we are all empathizing, which is good. But then afterwards, when I was talking with my friend, we were discussing, and then she was saying, like, yes, yeah, we were careful, but we should be able to control that also when we are evolving spiritually, which is our emotional strength. I realized later on that I don't have that emotional strength. I'm a physician. Sometimes
Nothing like that. See, one thing we have to be, sometimes we read too much into it. Lalaji's statement for that is, you are in the body. Somebody, when Lalaji's child passed away, somebody came and like, oh, you are a saint. Why are you crying emotionally? And Lalaji said, when dry leaves crack also there is sound. So we have to be natural. It is not that I have to be emotional, I don't have to be emotional. When you lose a job, I mean, you lost your security. I mean, you will cry. Even if you are a man, you will cry. That's normal. That doesn't mean that you are emotional and you are weak. That doesn't show weakness. That shows your humility and your honesty to express what your heart is. That's what we are looking for. We are not looking for artificial strength. We are looking for real strength. Real strength is like that mother who cries but still runs for her child. Aren't all of us doing that? Every day we are scared. We hear some news, something, and we are scared it's going to happen to our children. But every day we perform. Isn't that emotional strength? So it's emotional. It is okay as long as you're in the body. You're going to cry. My knee hurts. Last night I was crying. If I don't cry, I'm not human. So we shouldn't worry about little things like that. That doesn't show that we are weak.
thank you, sister.
Sister, is there any room for the audience that is remote for a question? Might they?
Yeah, whoever wants to, for me, everybody is remote. So
Yeah.
Namaste, sister. May I ask a question?
yeah, sure.
So, actually, sisters, thank you for the talk. And you suggested about like bringing about the improvements in ourselves. So, is there any way to bringing out the changes in those who are non-Abhyasis or kids?
Prayer. For other people, it's prayer. For ourselves, work on ourselves. See, we cannot interfere with the individual will or anything like that, but we can pray. When you really, like when it comes to our children, don't we pray desperately? That's what we do. So, prayer is answered. When you come to that point A and submit that prayer, point A is a prayer line actually. It is a natural line created by nature. So, if you come to that field and submit, Lord, please help. But we cannot bring transformation in them. When we change, they automatically, the reaction would change in them. But we cannot make other people change.
That even for kids also, like if you want to like bring out good qualities like focus and calmness in kids.
That's your job to train your children. When they're young, but when they're an adult, what do you do? Right? When they're young, of course, that's our job to teach them the right things and give them the right sankalpas, subtle sankalpas, positive things, and out of everything, give them love and security. It is our love and security that makes them bring to us. See, the thing is, like for us, sometimes Indian parents, we become too judgmental because we are brought up certain way and we think that is the right way or be all and end all, but maybe it's not. Most of the time, I notice that my child is right more than me. And so when I withdraw and stay back, she's making the right decisions. than me telling her, do this, do that. So I don't tell her anything. I only tell her, got a sitting, meditate, that's all. Because I know that will help her. Did you eat good? Did you take a sitting? Did you meditate? Did you do your cleaning? Those are the questions. I don't say, did you go out to eat or did you go out with your friends? I don't ask those questions. So we have to change.
Nice.
We have to
That
guide
answers.
our kids, and when see, they're our heart. Our children are our heart. We live for them. We die for them. So when we know that they're not doing a certain decision correctly as we believe, we pray. When we pray, the flow comes and it will direct their thought flow. Because they resonate with our feeling. They are seeing whether you are giving the advice because you want to be dominant and because you are right, or you really, damn it, love them so much that you are suffering. When they know that you are suffering, they resonate with it. They're not insensitive, they're more sensitive than us.
That answers my question, sister. Thank you.
Okay, Archana. Shall we close?
Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Is that okay if we all take a picture together with you on the screen? Can we try that? I know it's a big audience here.
Whatever you guys want.
By the way, sister, the children are very happy to listen to the last one. They're all smiling.
Oh. That is the truth we have to admit, right?
Yeah.